And a good morning to each and every one of you. There's so many different technical things I have to work out. Um, and I think that everything is working. It is recording. And hello, and welcome to each and every one of you. My name is Alexis Sersha, Alex Sersha. And me and my crew welcome you to this monthly live broadcast, which is a blueprint of the new, and where we discuss and we share all of the different things and experiences and things that are still yet to come in these most exciting times. And thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us. I know that this is a busy time of the year with all of the festivities, and yet sometimes we do need, in these times especially, we do need some breather. We need to bask in this beautiful, wonderful energy that we create, we together create in this dimension where we meet a safe space. And I also welcome all our non-physical friends. And for those that can feel them, of course, Yeshua is here. We have just celebrated his so-called birthday, and he's very happy about that. I have asked him not to just jump in and, cut me, Alex, short. But it is all in a joke. It is not a takeover. I do get a lot of inquiries now from many new people that are just starting, and I welcome you also. So if there are things that you don't understand yet, don't worry. And for those, of course, that are the first waivers, if I'm saying some things that, of course, please disregard and know that, the audience, the participants rather, are from all the different walks of life, from all the different parts of the world. So if there are things that that you already know, don't worry about it, because of course you can just bask in the energy, because as you know, the words don't matter that much. They are a distraction for the mind. It is the energy that we create together. It is the energy of this welcome and safe space that is the most important. And there are so many things available today for that are being transmitted. If you want to tap into that energy, here it is fairly early in the morning, and during the night, of course, Michael woke me up, and he was so present. Hasn't been present in such a strong way for quite a while. And it always surprises me, the human self, because you see, when you are dancing with your soul, with your eternal self, as a human self, there's always more, And you think, wow, I know this, I've got this, I know everything there is to know. And of course, then the next thing happens and you realize just how much there is to, if you only but allow. And you also, the presence, such a strong presence of your eternal self, of course, it's not always very comfortable. And you do learn to deal with that. And the reason why it's not comfortable is because you, as a human self, as a mind, as an ego, you become naked. You become very vulnerable, very visible. All of your issues, all of the things, all of the games. But when you are on this journey for a while, you realize that those are just barriers, that your own soul self is a safe space, is a space of unconditional love, is a space of unconditional acceptance, where it is safe to reveal yourself, where it is safe to let go of all of the masks, everything that was covering. And then you also realize that, the human self can use its own woundedness to create that barrier between the soul self and between itself. Because what happens, of course, it is that its priorities of the soul self start becoming the king, the queen, the boss, if we talk in those terms, and not the ego self. The ego self's priorities is what we've let go, what we've been letting go for so long. And it's not when you take a step back, of course, those ego priorities, it's not like it is a takeover. of our human self. Not at all, because it is those priorities that we used to have is what was keeping us stuck, what was keeping us separated. It was creating the world that is wounded, that is very destructive, self-destructive, that is wounding to everything that it touches. So there are so many layers and layers and layers of that. So, but we'll go into all of that in a second. So I would just also like to thank you, those of you who have participated in a 3 months course that we just finished on the solstice, was the last live transmission, and it was called Essence, and it was just such a wonderful, I cannot say how enjoyable it was for me, and what an honor to work with such willing, such open group of people who are so courageous to allow, to willing to go where no one else really in those spaces has gone before, to touch, to bring, to whatever degree, and it's very individual and it's very unique, but to bring their own Christ essence to the forefront, into consciousness, even if they've already had some, even if we've had some before, all of us, including myself, because there is always more and more available. There are depths, there are breadths, there are fountains and fountains of what is to be felt, to be discovered, to be realized. And we had gone through such amazing spaces. We have experienced so many amazing things, and they're still quite hard to put into words, because we are still unraveling and will be unraveling for a while. And yet what a great way it was to finish this decade, to finish with what we've started, with to bring about, to bring into a living, breathing relationship, our Christ, our Christos self. So there will be another, this Essence course, a 3 months course, is going to start again in February for those that are interested. And if you've already participated, it is always going to be tailored to the people that will participate in that particular course, and to do with the energies and current times. So it's not a course that is set in stone, that is always the same. Those times are gone, of course. Also, there is an hour webinar coming up in January, if you want to check out my website for that. And Michael has asked me also to start a group that will be more intimate, more personal, where we can chat, we can have live video chats, that will be based on a monthly contribution, a small contribution. I am aware that people, when we are going through these kind of things, there is often abundance is one of those issues. So it will be very affordable. Also, people in different countries. We are a global group, so people, have different conversion rates and things like that. So I am looking forward to that. It is, of course, for my own human self, who is a bit of an introvert, it is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but this is the journey, is it not? To constantly go into places where we haven't gone before, and that's the same for me as for each and every one of you. It's true that we keep expanding and we keep expanding, and then we look back and we think, wow, why was I ever afraid of that? And yet, because as a human self, I used to be so used to having to do it on my own, but now on my own is not even something that I remember, like what it felt like. You forget so quickly what it felt like to live in separation. And for those I had questions about, yes, I do post a lot of nature things, publicly online, but my everyday life, I am very involved with a community, with a local community. So I'm not divorced, in that way from reality, from mass consciousness in this way. It is a challenge in this way to sort of keep my own privacy as being an introvert, and a bit of a, dag, to be able to wear my daggy clothes and not worry about anything, and just to go about do my own thing. So It has been an interesting year where I've been sort of experimenting, just as each and every one of you, how to find a way, how to create a life on this earth that is full of mass consciousness, to be involved, and yet to also have that space for your own self, because we, each and every one of us, needs that time just to be ourselves, just to be with ourselves. So whether we have family commitments, whether we have partners, it is still important to spend that time where you just commune with your own soul, where you commune with your own, your own essence, your own spirit, your own eternal self, where all of the inspiration gets born, creativity gets born, ideas, all of the things give being birthed there, and then you go out into the world and you make them happen, and you just, all I need to do as a human self is just to follow the step by step. I don't have to worry about the future. I don't have to worry about next year, the year after. Basically, I just do what I get inspired to do. And it doesn't always work, of course, because we learn and we test and we try this and we try that. And there's just a lot of different variety. There's a lot of different dynamics that go on. In the last few months, the last year also, for those of us that are teaching more publicly, it's been a big testing round for those of us, the first wavers, because I've certainly have been tested in every way possible. And it all has to do with this honesty, with being honest as to why I'm doing this, with being honest, with being able to follow my own how can I say, inner voice with this, rather than the pressures that come from outside. And that also can come from this, so-called spiritual community. And it is not that anybody or anything is bad. It is just that each and every one of us are unique. And we are finding our own way in this and creating our own life based on our own selves. So how I do things may be a little bit different to how another person does this. And then that is to take courage that for each and every one of you also there is a space where you can bring forth your own creation, very uniquely you, that it's not a pre-prescribed way of how you do it, of what you do. You can look around and see what people are doing and perhaps, get inspiration. But what you bring has to be birthed within you from your own relationship of your own parts, from your own working with your own soul, working with your own eternal self. And me, Alex, I'm quite happy to, in this way, to stand back and allow Yeshua, for example, to talk, and also, of course, my own eternal self, Mikhail, to come forward, because I, as Alex, go back, step back in this, in these webinars, in the shows, and just enjoy. I mean, such a beautiful way. It's like I'm sitting next to a huge, beautiful waterfall, and all of this information is downloading, and my mind is just very busy with interpreting what it's trying to interpret, what is being downloaded, and also working on, oh, am I interpreting this right? But there is no worry about this, because everything, when you are coming from a sense of authenticity, of not blocking, of being true to that voice, of being true to experiencing what you are talking about, what you are teaching, everything has self-corrects itself. So even perhaps, I may not have the right words at the time, people can feel the energy that is being transmitted. People can feel the love, people can feel the truth. And it is not, of course, my truth that you're feeling. It is your own truth that you are feeling, because there is the truth with an S, multiple. There isn't one to be imposed on. So another thing that this year was so huge about was really sort of like halfway through the year, it happened that we, and when I say we in this way, I mean myself, Alex, and as my soul, my eternal self. In this way, we stepped fully into the new. So we stepped, before that, I was still, part of me was still in the old energy, in the old way, you know, to be able to relate, to be able, and also to do with my own integrations and stuff. And yet there came a point where there was a time to step fully into the new and to relate to people, to relate to those still playing in the old energy in a very, very different way. So, not as a comrade traveling together in the old energy, but as a person, as one of those beings standing fully within the new energy, looking back into the old energy and inviting people, come, join me, it is possible. So it was a very, very distinct event, and it's hard to sort of put into words, but it was something that I've experienced very strongly. And since then, I have had to sort of become even more uncompromising with everything, with things, you know, pulling me back into the old energy. And also realizing, you know, with all of the things that are happening in the world, and there will be, of course, more, because people have proven to be much more resistant to change, much more resistant in some ways. And yet there are so many waves and waves of new people who are awakening, starting to awaken, you know. So it's just such a mixture of everything at the moment. But people are still not yet in that place, in that space. So many people are yet not yet in that place, in that space where they are willing to open up to the possibility of the soul. They are trying to bury themselves even more in the mind, in the box of the mind. And that is why there is so much still weather, so many things like that still happening. And when you see this being of a gentle heart, being of a person that loves with so you know, that does not like suffering, to see suffering or anything like that, it has been a huge year to step away from trying to help in the old way, because I was really able to see how it was only the old way, the way that I was doing it, it was enabling that old to keep existing. You see, because as long as I keep focusing, being the creator that we are, as long as I keep focusing on all of the disasters, the negative, I add my energy to it. I keep reinforcing it. I keep helping to co-create that. So for those that still think that when you turn away from the disasters in this way, that it's a very selfish thing to do. It's actually not, because you are turning away from the system that is extremely, extremely damaging to all of those that are participating within it. It was extremely damaging. It was wounding to me when I was in it. You see, so it's not a system that you, I want to support anymore. It is not it's not, I don't want to support those that want to continue to participate in that system, who want to keep that system alive, because it is not who I am anymore. I have integrated. Like each and every one of you, we have been integrating all of those parts. We've been pulling out the support from the system that is so damaging to every living being, not only humanity, but to every living being. And it doesn't have the future, because it is a closed loop. It doesn't have the growth. It doesn't have the expansion. So it is like, if you're familiar with the terms of with terms that are used within addiction language. So it is being an enabler. So in many ways, the old work of keep trying to keep the suffering tolerable by adding my energy, by hoping. It is being enabler of that system. So now instead is placing, letting, allowing the full responsibility of that energy, of playing in that energy, to be where it belongs, and the people that still play there. And it is the most compassionate way to do, because if they see what the results of their own behavior, the results of their own beliefs, the results of their own energy, the results of their own, radiance, it is then they open up to change. You see, so by me stepping out and being fully present in the new, open to, I can assist you from this space of sovereignty, from this space of new, from this space of self-love. But I am not an enabler anymore. I'm not trying to make that system, the damaging system, to feel a little bit better, for burdens to be a little bit lighter, for the weather to not be so extreme. Because then you will continue to play in that system, you see. So each and every one, each and every human being, each and every being has the opportunity now to step out of that. So in this way, for me and for many others, it's been a big, big year of realization of, because this is such a huge thing for all of the people that I work for. This is such a huge thing to be able to step into the new, while the loved ones, perhaps partners, children, parents, relatives, friends, are still playing in the old. And yet what my experience has been that, now, quite a few years, and also being that I am involved in the last few years, very involved in with everyday people, so I am very aware of all of the issues that come up with, and also all of the issues that I need to sort of be very decisive about, so that I can live, so that I don't have to go somewhere in the mountain and live by myself. It is a big journey, and there are big decisions, and these are one of the biggest issues, things that are keeping people back. They are keeping first wavers back, and yet we are at such a threshold of 2020, where enough energy, enough space, enough of the new has been created, where your dreams now, if you let go of the old story, your dreams really are now possible. They will be very physical. You will be able to see the direct effects of your creations. You'll be able to perceive, you'll be able to allow your own soul, your own eternal self, whatever words, that names that you give it, it matters not. You'll be able to really feel them. You'll be able to feel them in your life, within your everyday experiences. And it is a magical, magical world that, that when your soul, when your eternal self is part of your day, it is just, everything is just so different. Everything changes. It is not, of course, like what I've just talked about, without its challenges, because you have to learn. You have to not learn because it hasn't been done before, but you, let's say, you learn enough about who you are, who this new you is, that you can then navigate in between all of the storms, that you can navigate around, and you're perfectly safe. Like when I listen, when I am in my own, space, and I don't even have to try, or I just am, and all of the decisions that I do take me to the right spaces, take me to the places where I need to be, take me out of the harm's way, even with the weather, even with all of the things that are happening. I can be completely oblivious to a lot of the things. And now really is the time to step into that, And yes, here we are, Mikael. Here we are, Mikaela. And you can see how easy this transition is from when the human self steps a little bit back into the arms of the eternal self, next to the waterfall, like Alex has explained. And your eternal self or your soul self steps forward. And in our daily life, of course, we do not make such differences. It's just very seamless. We do it here to demonstrate how easy it is and how it works. And it is not a takeover, because Alex is just as much me as I am her. We are one, and yet we are many. And the many are not lost in the one. It is both existing at the same time. And there is so much fun to be in this way, to be like this, to be open, because there are no more closed loops. Everything, every problem, every issue that the human self has a way out, has a different way of looking at things, has a different perspective. So you're not stuck in anything. You can go as deep as you want into things, but you're not stuck in anything. And this is one of the most freeing things to experience as a human being, that you're not stuck with things, that you don't have to keep going round and round and round like a caged hamster on a wheel that doesn't go anywhere, never gets anywhere, and it tries and it tries, and yet it still stays in the cage. And that is the cage of the mind. And yes, we know that many of you have experienced and have seen the outside of that cage. Those that we call the first wavers are way outside, way, way, way outside of that cage, but you don't even remember what the cage looks like. And yet here we are. We're basking in this energy that we bring together. We're basking in the festivities. We're basking in the celebration of how far we've come, of what we've achieved in such a short amount of time. But it's only been this one decade, this last decade, where it's all quickened, where it's all been made possible, when you have made it possible. Because you had enough. You had enough of being stuck. And you said no more. And you've done what was necessary to do. Even though day by day, you had no idea if you even be able to go for one more week, one more month, whether you're going to have the abundance still, whether the money will flow for one more day, 2 more days, one more week. And yet it always came, did it not? And now you can allow it. You can allow it to flood you, to flood your life in all the different ways, so that you don't know how to even choose from so many things that are available to you, so many choices. And you can celebrate and dance with all of the choices that you have allowed yourself, that you have created for yourself. Because it was you, the brave ones. It was you that have created the templates, and what templates they are. They are clear, those templates, for those ones still to come, that are coming. Those millions that are just awakening now and will be soon. How much easier it will be for those that are coming, because the templates have been written. And of course their journey will be a little bit different, because they haven't been born in such an old energy that you have been born into, that you have had courage to walk through, that you have had courage to look at, that you have had courage to face. So this year, 2019, really was a year to face all your demons, was it not? It was the year to face all your last barriers to your freedom. The dragon was out there alive and well, was it not, all year round? It was a constant companion. And yet now when you look back already, and the year hasn't even finished, few more days to it yet, you can look back and you see just how much you have changed. So do pat yourself on the back and celebrate, because it has been a monumental decade, it has been a monumental year. And it has been the year that for many of you, you have been able to let go of that story, the old story, the human story, And what we mean by that, it is that you have realized who you are. You have realized your heritage. You have realized that your mother and father are the divine mother and fathers. They're not your human parents. So when you go inside, when you look for answers, when you look for comfort on the inside, many of you now, you go to who you really are. The mother and father, the eternal self, the one that you come, that gave you birth in passion, that gave you birth in ecstasy, that gave you birth in love. And yet that love also demands, that honor also demands the freedom of choice, which so many times you have cursed this freedom. As many beings throughout the universe, the intensity of the freedom, the intensity of self-responsibility has weighed heavily on you, has it not? And yet even through that you have been able to break through. Even through that you have found ways to come out, to come to that I am, to self-love, to allow the divine mother and father to be your basis from which you now create this new world, from which you create play in the new energy with no limitation, the new energy of multidimensional being. And you are now allowing yourself to experience your life in this way. You are allowing yourself to be all of these things. You're allowing yourself to be who you are, the eternal one, the one that has always been the one that has created the worlds. And so we invite you now for a little journey where we start as a human self. Feel yourself as this playful human self. And within this human self, feel all the different parts of you. Feel your teenager. Of course, if you're still a teenager, you can very much feel this part. Feel your young child that is just so playful, so magical, so looking out into the world with wonderment, with excitement, with openness. And yet this child is now very present to you. This child experiences life looks through your eyes and is present now. And talk to this child and talk to this teenager and talk to the middle-aged person and talk to the person who is that in their 20s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and 100s. Talk to the wise person, old person that you also are. Experience yourself as a human being, as all of these parts of yourself, all now, all living, all present, all with their own wisdom, all with their own equality, equally contributing, experiencing through your eyes, experiencing life, experiencing the sunlight, the snow, the beach, the partner's eye, the look into your child's eyes. All of these things you are right now at this present moment. And now we'll invite you to step back. Take a step back and step into the arms of your own individuated soul. For you are a soul. You are this human being that has a particular name in this life, and yet you are also a soul. Now feel yourself as this soul. This soul that decided to play within the physical reality. This soul that had passion. This soul that chose. It was the soul that chose all of these different lives, all of these different attributes, all of these different aspects and facets of yourself. And now you can feel as a soul You can feel yourself living life not only through this human that you've just felt yourself to be, that looks at you when you look in a mirror, but you are many humans on this earth at different timelines. So see from your soul's perspective just how wide your experience is and how different all of these personalities, all of these facets are. So as a human self, you can always step back into your soul self, into your own soul's perspective. So when you are having difficulties letting go of a particular relationship, perhaps, that is no longer suitable or anything, step back into your soul's perspective and see and feel yourself as eternal, and feel yourself as being so many, and feel how even with that person that you're trying to let go, how many relationships in all these different times and spaces you have. So it is not really letting go. When you take the soul's perspective, how much easier it is to let go. Because you gain the perspective of eternity, you gain the perspective of multiple lives, of multiple selves, of so many different beings that you are as a soul. All equal, all different, all experiencing different things. So you see how much the presence of your soul can help you, can assist you as a human being, because you are not trapped. You're not trapped in one limited belief. You're not trapped in the pain of the immediate thing that is happening. You can have all these different perspectives. And yes, there was a time, and for some, if they are in the beginning, there is a time to let go of those past, so-called past lives, because you don't want to be resolving their issues. And yet for those of you at the forefront, you are now in the place where you can utilize all of the things, all of the wisdom, all of the talents that all these so-called past lives have. You can ask them to assist you, and so you can assist, because you are in this place of sovereignty. You are in this place of freedom. You are in this place where your boundaries are very strong. And then, of course, this is not the end. There never is the end. You can step back again from being the individuated soul self, and you can step back into your own eternal self. And you can feel this grand being, this big one, so to speak. You can feel yourself. And so you don't only have one soul self, you can feel how many souls, so-called souls, how many facets it has in so many different worlds, in so many different places. And yes, many can feel alien to you, alien in a way that they are so different. And yet even this perspective, just what a different perspective this is that can assist you with everyday things, with everyday issues. So when you look from this place at all of your issues, when you look from this place at what is happening, when you look from this place as to how you were when you were in the mind, in the box of the mind, just how tiny that perspective was, and how limiting and how painful. So from this perspective, it enables you to easily navigate, to easily step out from supporting the little box, from being present, from inviting those who are still in the box, that yes, look at me, it is safe, it is possible, it is doable, it is enjoyable, it is life-giving to step out of the box. And so they will. And so they will. So this changing of perspective is what will assist you in great way through the next year, the year that is to come. Because we ask you, we invite you to keep creating the new, to keep focusing on the new, on the good, on the enjoyable, on the wonderful, on the wondrous, on all of the things that you want to see, that you want to experience, for you carry within you the seed that helps, that is important, not only important, it is vital, a building stone that the new world cannot do without. Each and every one of you carry your own unique signature, your own unique contribution, your own unique self to add to all of those who wish to participate, all of those who wish to play with in the new. And now we would like to invite our dear friend Yeshua to have a few words with you, for it has been his celebration, has it not? Oh, yes, that is I, Yeshua. Here I am with you now. And thank you. Thank you for taking the time off. Thank you for making my birthday a public holiday. I am, of course, honored for that. And I am honored for all of the beautiful wishes that you've sent my way. And know that I too have sent you all of those wishes. And I have been, and I am present with you in the celebrations, in the honoring of your families, in the honoring of your friendships, in the honoring of the gift of giving and how good it feels to give. Does it not? And yes, I've had my own party too, of course, in a non-physical way. I can play in all these different dimensions. I can play in all these different worlds, and yet here I am with you, because this is such an exciting time, is it not? And I have been part of that. I've been a big part, and I hope that I have been a big inspiration. And yet I want to be a bigger inspiration still. The inspiration, of course, to be joyful. The inspiration for all of those people that still see me on that cross, which for me is it's been a long, long time ago. And I'm not talking about time, of course, because I am multidimensional. That life of mine in that time that you know so well is still very much alive and well. And yet even that has changed. I have changed that life, because nothing is fixed. Nothing is set in stone. Even the stones, for those that are into science, into quantum physics, even the stones are not set in stone, so to speak. The matter is changeable, is malleable, and you are realizing just how much you, the new magicians that have been around for a very, very, very long time, the new magicians that have been present since the time when it all has begun, since the time when this experience on this physical earth has just been just an idea. And now you are here too, at the harvest time, at fruition time, at a time when you can reap, when you can harvest the fruits of your hard labor. And this is what is coming in the 2020. It is ready, it is ripe, it is there for you to pick. And what are these fruits? These fruits are the abilities that you don't even have dreamed about in your waking hours. Your human self has not allowed itself to dream about. The levels of intimacy with yourself, the levels of intimacy with your soul self, the healing woundedness, allowing it to just be, to not trying to fix it, to not trying to tamper with it, but just to put it aside, to let it just be. And as it is, it heals its own self. The fruits, the abundance that can flow, the new abilities, the new projects that you can participate in, the new ideas, the new creativities. And just feeling so joyful, feeling fresh, feeling renewed, feeling free to be free from histories. You have done so much work on letting go of the ancestry of letting go. Then it is not, of course, it's not about letting the individuals go. We honor your own physical parents, we honor your own physical family. And yet If there was a goal, so this it was for you to realize your own lineage, who you really are, the big, the grand one, the eternal one, so that you can allow them, the masculine and the feminine, the mother and father, to live through you, to be present, so that you can allow them to nurture you, to support you. For both are necessary, both are vital parts of yourself. And they're no longer at war, but in a respectful dance of whatever they decide to do, whether it is friendship, whether as lovers, whether as partners, and so many more things. And yet you can experience this because you are a vital part of all of it. No longer afraid of what's inside of you, because on the inside of you is joy, is passion. So for those who have felt a lack of passion, a lack of direction, it is here now for you. And yet it will require, of course, even more trust. It requires trust because every step that you take, you're taking into the new, into the unknown. So it requires you to trust who? To trust your own soul, to trust your own connection with your own soul, to treat yourself with honor, with respect, to allow yourself just to play, to be, to make mistakes, to do whatever, and laugh it off if it doesn't work and move on. You see, there's no more stuckness, there's no more loop, there's no more circle, closed circuit. There is always a way out. And yet, so in this way, you can allow yourself to immerse yourself in physical reality, to immerse yourself into all of the pleasures. You see, during the time of awakening and the times of integration, it was so important in many ways to isolate yourself. And yet now will be the time to rejoin, to start enjoying, to the whatever degree that you want, you see, because this is a free place. This is a place that is tailored to you, that is tailored to you in such a way that you don't even know, because you have not known yourself in such a way, in such detail, in such intimacy, ever. Because you have not allowed yourself, it was not safe, but now it is. And I, Yeshua, I invite you to invite me to play with me, because I am very available. I am available to play with you, not to give you. Yes, of course, I can give you a friendly advice because I want to be a friend. But all of the things, all of the inspirations for your own life, they come from you. They come from your own soul, from your own inner well, from your own inner depths that now are no longer scary, that now are no longer painful, that now are no longer something that you need to run away from, something that you need to fear. And yet you will find that sometimes the intensity of it all will still want to sometimes at times overwhelm you. So take that time to rest for your body. Because your eternal self to your human self feels absolutely intense. And it is the intensity in many ways, the intensity of joy, the intensity of aliveness, the intensity of realness, and the pleasure of being seen in such a way, a pleasure of being seen whole, of not having to hide, can at times be overwhelming, you see. And yet what do you do in those times? You remember who you are. You remember how far you've come. And of course, you just take a few more deep breaths and you experience and you allow. And you allow and you experience this ecstasy of being you. For it's been a long time, has it not? Because everything, but everything in the old world, in the old energy, was trying And it has succeeded to pull you away from being you, from allowing yourself just to be you, from allowing yourself to have your opinions, to have your likes, to have your dislikes, to have your priorities. Just how rare this is still. You know, people, they do, as you know, in mass consciousness, they run around thinking, I'm doing. Even they get caught with all of the things, you know, perhaps even traveling or anything that they do for others just so that they can appear that they're doing it rather than because they want to do for themselves, because they cannot do things for themselves unless they know who they are, unless they feel who they are. If they are divorced, if they are separated, and that's what separation means, being separated from your own self. But we're not going to focus on the old anymore. We're focusing now on how you, finding your way around how you are living as being you in this world that is still steeped into the 3D. How you can find joy, how you can find satisfaction. And you already are, so many of you, you have created, you are creating your new things, your new creativities. You're finding new incomes, new ways to work, new ways to love, new ways to be in partnerships, new ways in everything. Creating those templates, and yet it is not for others, it is for you that you are doing this, for the joy of being. And this is what this new year is all about. It is finally reaping the benefits, picking the fruits, all of the different fruits that are available for all the hard work that you have done. And sometimes you will surprise yourself, because it is so surprising still to the human self to be so worryless, to be so fearless. It is a new world, and this is what every day is about. It becomes about. It is exploring. It is learning about yourself. It is learning how to be in this way, how to do, how to entertain yourself, how to be with other people, and also how this relationship with you and you, how it keeps developing, how you can keep allowing yourself to dive deeply into experiences and even get lost for a while, and yet you are not lost like you were before, like you were in the old energy, because you are always connected. And then you wake up and you realize, wow, what an experience I had. But it's not only that, because you fall in love with yourself again and again and again. That feeling, that experience of gratefulness, of gratitude, of being you, of being who you are, of falling in love with your soul, falling in love with your eternal self. It is priceless, that experience, that falling in love over and over and over again. Dear ones, there is just so much in store. There is just so much for you to experience. And I, Yeshua, am so honored to be part of this. Even though I am non-physical, I am part of this story, part of these experiences. And I honor you. And I congratulate you and I thank you. And I'm looking forward to and wishing you the most wonderful festive season, most wonderful new year. And I'll see you on the other side. And here we are. So here we are back to me, Alex. So I haven't mentioned, for those that are new, and if you are on the Zoom, there is a Q&A panel that you have on the bottom if you have any, for those that have any questions. So please ask any questions if you like. So I'll just have a look if we do have some questions already. Oh, yes, we do. Okay. Hello, thank you for this space. I have had a hell of a year because of the residue of an old relationship in my own act of turning away from my own trust. This is probably the biggest pain. Now I find that I have a sure desire to leave the place where I live because it is a creation of fears and limitations and suffering and an old human story. And I feel that so much of my energy is tied into this old story and place still, and it feels like it is keeping me from experiencing my expanded state and awareness. I have moved through all that this experience brought about. I have wisdomized it, and I am no longer wounded or attached to it. I just feel there is so much more, and I literally have to leave a space to allow myself to experience it. I suppose I don't have a question. I just wanted to share this. Thank you. And thank you for sharing this. And know that, yes, you are absolutely supported in all of this. And yes, it has been a year where we have been faced with the biggest challenges within ourselves. And for some of us, this were personal relationships. For some of us, were other issues. You see, so we had to face it. We had to finally let go. And even though there's still residue, fear not, because you have made your choices. And also, we would like to ask you to perhaps have a look at that, yes, those spaces that you are talking about, the place that you lived, it does have memories. It does have, it is connected with the old. And yet in this state where you are now are, you absolutely can transform anything. You absolutely can imbue the old space with a new. You see, there is no more rules in this way. That if you end something, if for sometimes, yes, if you feel like it, it is easier to go somewhere new. And absolutely, for many of you, this next year will be when you move somewhere else. And at the same time, you see, choose to do things from the space of empowerment, from the space of not being limited, you see, because either way, because in this new space that you are in, the new way, the choices that you have are equal. And the reason why they are equal and the choices that you have are so abundant, so multiple, and there isn't a right and a wrong, you see. So there isn't a choice of where you have to do this or that. You have to leave because this place is filled with the old. Because in where you are now with yourself, you can absolutely change the old place into new. You see, it doesn't mean that you have to move location for it to be new, because you can now allow and be new and see the old with new eyes, imbue it with the new energy, and then see it with the new, and then it becomes new. Then you don't have to move. And at the same time, absolutely you can move, you see. So there isn't any more any right or wrong in this way, or that you should or shouldn't. What do you choose? And both are equally equal, both options and many other options, you see. So whatever you choose in this new, you absolutely will imbue it with the new, and absolutely will be right, and absolutely you will not be stuck in it. So we wish you to enjoy, to celebrate yourself for what you have done, to celebrate yourself for the courage to let go of what was no longer you, and for embracing the new. And whether you choose to stay or whether you choose to move, you see, those things don't matter anymore. What matters is that you are always being you, connected, self-loved, supported, honored from your own place, from your own sovereign place. And this sovereign place, of course, it does not reside in things of the physical. It does not reside in the outside. This sovereign space, it is within you. So you carry it, this home, this safe space, this space of you, the I am that I am within you. So, and that is why, you see, it doesn't matter whether you stay or you go, or you do a mixture of staying and going, because wherever you are, you have that I am within you. You have that freedom within you. You have that new energy within you. And so the outside starts reflecting that. So in this way, don't give the power to the outside, because the outside things don't have that power. You have that power on the inside. So it's not the outside that is old. It doesn't even have to remind you anymore of the old if you imbue it with the new. Yes, the most exciting times. And thank you for sharing. Okay, let's have a look at the new one. Another question. Alex, your message is so current again as always. Shall I say thank you? And Michael and Yeshua, thank you for your wisdom. How do I get rid of the last barriers between me and my soul self, my eternal self, and the new energy? Happy New Year to you all. And thank you. Thank you for having the courage. For you have come such a long way. For you have jumped centuries in the last year. And we thank you for participating, and we thank you for joining, and we thank you for playing with us. And I, Yeshua, I thank you for playing with me, for inviting me into your world, for inviting me to be part of your day. It is a pleasure to me also to be your friend in this way. And yes, I would suggest not to worry. That is the main thing, because you already are on your way. You already are embodying. So everything that bubbles up from you, take action on all of the ideas that you get. And all of the ideas that you get will allow you to become more intimate with yourself, will allow you to be more and more and more closer. And I also ask you to be gentle with yourself. And if you have no gentleness, I ask you to be even more gentle. For your feminine self will allow you to be open, to be vulnerable, to be in the space of allowing. It is your feminine self that is greeting you, that is nurturing you, that is allowing you to feel safe now, safe to be so gentle, safe to be so loved, safe to be so vulnerable and open, safe to be okay with who you are. It is this gentle feminine side that it is now safe for you to experience, safe for you to embody, safe for you to dance with. And yes, you too, you have what a year you have in front of you. It will be magical, magical, even with more depth, with more experiences of your own soul self, of your own self as a soul. Thank you. Okay, we have one more question. All right. I've been feeling the lack of passion for a long time, with a lot of tiredness, not being able to work. I think we have a friendly mosquito flying around us, but it's okay. Okay, I'll try again. I've been feeling the lack of passion for a long time, with a lot of tiredness, not being able to work a job. My family continuously critiques me for my free-flowing state of being. How can I finally break free from these obligations? So these obligations and things, they are on the inner self, on the inner side. You see, it is you who are carrying those ideas. It is you who are carrying those ideas of obligations, of what you're supposed to be. And then the people from the outside are just playing on to that energy that you carry within you. So when you start, take yourself, of course, to that quiet place and invite those parts of you that feel obliged to assist others in this way, that feel trapped, that feel imprisoned by the obligations. Invite those parts to come and speak with you. Invite those parts to come and dance with your own soul, with your own soul self. And you will see that the soul self will know what to do with those parts. And as those parts dissolve, and as those parts dissolve within you, you will notice how those parts will also, when you breathe with them, when you allow them to flow, they also have a solution within them. They have a solution as to how to resolve this, how to let them go. You see, all of these things, they come as a package, as a whole package. They are not just an issue. They also carry within them a creative solution. And yet the solution will be much deeper, will carry much more love, will carry much more respect than what your human self imagines. Because when the soul takes over in this way, it brings with it compassion, depth, wisdom from so many other lives, from so many other paths that it's living. You see, it has been forever. So absolutely, it can resolve this. And yet for you, it was also this, what we talked about today, because we talked about how difficult for most people it is to let go of this kind of, to let go of this kind of relationships that are binding. So we invite you to use that practice of stepping back into your soul self, stepping back into your eternal self even more, allowing that perspective, because that perspective will then allow you, will free you, will show you way out, will show you, give you the ideas of how to resolve that. See, so be at peace, because every single thing will resolve itself for each and every one of you, and this I can guarantee. Because as you allow these things to just be, if they don't push them, don't try to make them change, allow them to just be, allow them to dance with the soul, I guarantee you that they will resolve. And yes, for some things it may take some time, but if you stop focusing on those things and you put them aside and you just allow them to let them be, then you make space for all those other parts of you, and you realize just how much freedom you already have. And the more you focus on this freedom that you already have within your life, the more freedom you create. You see, and the more you just focus on issues, the more issues you create. And this is part and parcel of being a creator. So we hug you, and we want to give you confidence in this, that this too will resolve itself. And you know, absolutely know, and you have how to do it, and you absolutely have resolutions within you. And yes, absolutely, part of that is breathing in this uncompromising nature where you are able to say no. You see, because your body is feeling the weight of these issues you're carrying and trying to hold the energy for others that are still playing in the old energy. And your body is having a hard time because it's trying to deal with the new energy. And yet, while you still hold the energy for the others, whether those are your parents or the close ones, it matters not. Then that's why your body is feeling tired also. You see, place the burdens of things on the shoulders of those that create them, because they too have their resolutions within them. You see, while you keep trying to take and resolve on their behalf, you are robbing them of the opportunity to feel how they can resolve it for themselves, you see. So they too are soul being. And when you step back into these other perspectives, we invite you to perhaps do it right now. Step back into your soul. And perhaps for them, you can see that this particular lifetime doesn't carry enlightenment, doesn't carry realization, and yet when you are your own soul self and you interact with the soul self of them, you see that within there, even for them also, there is a lifetime, perhaps not this one, there is another lifetime which right now, in this timelessness of the soul's reality, is experiencing enlightenment. You see, so in this way, you can release yourself from the obligations, from the burden of trying to be something for the others that you cannot do. You cannot free others. You can be but an example, and yet they have to free themselves. But if you are keep being imprisoned, if you keep imprisoning yourself, then you are not the example that they're looking for, that you have promised to be for them, an example of a sovereign being. And the health of the body is within you. It is within you to be realized. The health of an energetic body, the health of a person, of a being who has decided to stay, who has decided for the river of life to flow through them with exuberance, with joy, with love. You see, allow that to flow through you. Allow that to be with you. Focus on that. And the more you focus on this, the more you can then also be a standard for your close, those ones that are close to you. Thank you, dear one. For you too, 2020 is going to be a magical year of discovery of your own freedoms, such freedoms that you've never experienced, that you've never allowed yourself to experience up to now. Thank you. Okay, I think that is all the questions that we have for today. All right, so thank you. Thank you for everyone for participating in all of these programs. Thank you, each and every one, for being part of this journey. I appreciate each and every one of you. I can feel each and every one of you. And I'm looking forward to the 2020. And I'm also wishing you the most wonderful festivities, the most wonderful celebrations of the new year, and the most wonderful celebration of you, of each and every one of you. Thank you.